Hello, welcome to Chickens. Yeah. So, I wanted to do a video going over my November and December reads, but turns out this month I became the queen of putting books down. These 2 months I put down a total of 4 books. So first, we're going to talk about the books I finished, and then we're going to talk about the ones I put down. Alright, let's get into it. So, the first book I finished in November and December is the Christy Miller Collection Volume 2 by Robin Jones Gunn. So, So I was originally going to say when I talked about went downs that I put down half the books that I was supposed to read, but technically these Christy Miller volume collections, they're like 3 books in one, so I couldn't technically say that I put down half the books. So, also before we get into the actual books, so when I first started this series, I thought that these books took place in like the late 90s, early 2000s, but I did some research and no. So, okay, I don't know exactly what time these books take place in, but the first book was published in the late 80s. So yeah, and I believe the books that we will be talking about were published in the early 90s. So, let's get into the book. So, when I first talked about like the first Christy Miller collection volume, I didn't really know. I didn't have much to say because I didn't think to divide my thoughts into each book, but I did that this time. So the first book in this collection is called Surprise Endings. The basic premise of it is Christy wants to be a cheerleader, and this one is kind of fun. I was drawn in for most of it, and is probably the most fun I've had reading a Kindle book. And I was hoping that the rest of the books would continue with that trend of being drawn in, but not so much. So the second book was called Island Dreamer, where Chrissy goes to Hawaii. And it was kind of fun, but I wasn't really drawn in. And then the last book was called A Heart Full of Hope, where Christy can finally date. And that one I was kind of like, oh no. So, yeah, that was fun. And the last thing I will say about like these books in general is that like the romances in it are kind of frustrating to read. And what I mean by that is that throughout this whole book so far, there's kind of been a kind of seemingly thing of like Christy picking between 2 guys. But if you look at the titles of the later series, which the only reason I'm continuing with this series is to get to those books, you can find out very easily which guy she ends up with. But what's so frustrating is that with this guy that she's supposed to end up with, you never know. You don't know what's up with him. Like Christy keeps being like, "Oh, I never, no, I don't know what it is. He's so confusing," and like all this stuff, and this is from her perspective, so we're not really getting. It's like, uh, why did you pick this guy? Why? I mean, I guess we'll find out in the later books, but right now, frustrated. Guys, that's all for Christy Miller Collection Volume 2. Time to prepare to talk about this next book. This next book is Well Met by Jen Deluca. So, oh my gosh, how do I even sum up this book? Okay, so we're following this woman named Emily, and she's helping her sister and her niece after her sister got into a bad car accident. And so she has to like take care of her and all that. But also her niece Caitlin wants to be a part of their local Renaissance Fest, and because of and but she has to have an adult also sign up in order for her to be a part of the festival. So her sister can't do it because she's injured. So Emily does it. She just signs up as a tavern wench, but then she ends up being, how do we even say it? Like, to be intertwined, I guess, with the mate, with the guy who's like running the show. His name's Simon, and yeah, the romance starts from there. And okay, so this bug, I don't know, was not into this. The one thing I found that was kind of like, oh, I like this, was like, so like you get assigned a role. Well, not assigned a role. You sign up for a role, then you have to like create a character, their names. That's when I was kind of like, oh, this is my jam. Like, not as much anymore, but for a while I was really into like names and character names. But then Emily goes for the laziest option to pick a name, so it was like me. And also, like, how the Emily and Simon kind of, the whole thing starts is by this thing where it's the thing that couples are supposed to do for the festival, where they like devote themselves to each other and like binding of the strings. And so then Caitlin brings Emily over to be matched with Simon, and she's already kind of like annoyed by him, and but she's kind of has attraction there, but she doesn't want to admit it. And having someone who's been in there, like, if that happened to me, like, I would die. Like, is this supposed to be romantic? Like, why? Why? And also, the the things that I heard about this book, which like drew me to read it, I read it and it was wrong. I don't really want to get into when my then the last kind of little gripe I have with this book is like the book's title. So it's called Well Met, and it says once in the book that well met is like a type of greeting, but then that's the only time it's mentioned in the whole book. So it's like, why? Why did you only have this title in this one place? Anyways, I'm not sure if I would consider this one of the worst I read this year, because I feel like maybe part of me not liking this is like a me problem, maybe. And the things that I heard that were wrong, I mean, that's not the author's fault, I guess. Now, we get into the two Christmas books I read, because it was December, and oh, I forgot to mention this in the beginning. I was hoping to get this video out or like filmed like at Christmas time, around that time, but that did not happen. So I guess Merry late Christmas or whatever. So the first Christmas book I read was called Christmas Joyride by Melody Carlson. And so this book is kind of two main characters, but I guess the main one is this woman named Miranda, and she's fallen on hard times, and like I can't remember the circumstances. She's being like kicked out of her house or something. And so she has this neighbor, this 86-year-old neighbor named Joy. And Joy ran this like contest on her website where the point of it was to spread Christmas cheer to the people who won the contest. So she was talking about she's going to drive her RV across America, and then she invites Miranda to come with her. So they go on this trip, and they spread Christmas joy, like Christmas decorating and all these things to all these people who won the contest. So this was like a cute concept, and it was kind of fun, but the story uh, took an unexpected turn, at least for me. which, like, I guess points for being unpredictable, but I don't know how I feel about that. So, yeah, I don't got much else to say on that one. And the second Christmas book I read was called Christmas After All by Cece Louise, I think. That's how you pronounce it. So Christmas After All by Cece Louise. Um, so our two main characters are Melissa and Tucker. So Tucker kind of publicly asked out Melissa in high school, and she very publicly rejected him. But then I can't remember how much long afterwards, Tucker saw her boyfriend out with another woman, so he wrote a song about that, and that song ended up going viral and launched his career in music. But they live in a small town, and so people knew who the song was about. So now Melissa is mad at him for like being publicly known as the girl who rejected this guy. And so Tucker comes back to his hometown for Christmas, and they end up it's a second chance romance. So there's that. I mean, like, and so I actually started reading this book last year, but then I didn't finish it. I kind of, I guess, unintentionally put it down. So I picked it up again and I was trying to find where I left off, and I was kind of drawn in. It was kind of cute. I think I would give it 3 stars. So yeah. Oh, and also one of the things I heard about this book is that it's a clean romance. So there's no spice. There's no like bad language except for I guess this isn't really a spoiler, but Melissa she um uses Tucker's name as kind of like a replacement for the F word. So that's something. So I guess he warned about that, but yeah. Right. Time to get to the books I put down this month. So the first one I put down is What Lies Above by Caitlin Lambert. And I won't talk about this one too much because I do plan on picking it up back again in the new year. So you'll hopefully hear me talk about it later. But I was kind of trying to read it while reading other books, but then I was like, there's no way I'm gonna finish this book with when by the end of this year with how slow I was getting through it. So I just put it down. I'm like, okay, we'll just wait till next year. The next book I put down is the book community is gonna come after me for putting down this one, but whatevs. And that is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I know, y'all go cuckoo bananas over her, but I just don't get it. Like, it's not bad, but it's not drawing me in. Y'all know if I'm not drawn in, so yeah, I don't get it. Okay, and then the next book I put down was called If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nowlin. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name, and I I do plan on coming back to this one as well. The reason I put it down is just because it wasn't helpful for what I was going through at the time. So I'm putting down. The last book I put down is called Strange New World by Rachel Vincent, which is a sequel to this book right here. And, and I was just prepared because I'm about to rant about this book. So this book, um, I got it at a Scholastic Book Fair. I'm not sure if I was in grade 8 or grade 9 when I got it, but it was around that time, and it was for sure after I read The Giver, because um, after I read The Giver, I was like, I am all into dystopian fiction now, and so I could tell by like the back of this book and things that this was more of a dystopian book. So I picked it up and I liked the most of it. But then towards the end of the book, there started to be like some swearing and stuff, which like caught me off guard because I got this at a Scholastic Book Fair, and you think that books at Scholastic Book Fair would be appropriate for kids, right? Right? Well, apparently not. And then what really drove me nuts is that like this book ends on a cliffhanger, and I was like, oh, what, what? And then, and then I see that this book is out, and I'm like, you didn't tell me there was a second book. So, yeah, there's that. So I decided to read this book because like my younger self needs justice for what you did to me with this book. So I started this book and I only made it to chapter 8 because it got to a part of the story where it was like just frustrating to read because I was like, how are you gonna get out of this one? Which you think would be intriguing, but it's more just like no, no, there's you shouldn't have gotten into this in the first place. Which like I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm gonna pick that one up again. I mean, of course, we still need justice. But so yeah, interesting ending to this video. Hope you had a Merry Christmas, and I hope you guys have a Happy New Year. Chickens out. Okay, goodbye.